never have any records that tell us what this thing is. These ancient builders have left us with a mystery.
Stonehenge has always been mysterious, but now AI has uncovered what human eyes never could.
Previously unknown civilization living right here of Bronze Age people. And that's who built Stonehenge.
Deep beneath the stones lies something far more disturbing. Buried structures, geometric alignments, and engineered patterns that don't match any known prehistoric site. This isn't just a monument anymore. It may be the visible tip of a massive ancient design. And what AI found down there doesn't make sense. The truth is out, and it's worse and more horrifying than anyone imagined. The buried heart of Stonehenge. What I just saw. AI wasn't just looking at rocks, it went underground. Using high-resolution, ground-penetrating radar and magnetometry, researchers compiled decades of buried data from beneath Stonehenge. They fed that into a deep learning model built to spot patterns humans miss. What it uncovered was shocking, a grid of geometric anomalies stretching far beyond the visible stone circle. These weren't natural formations. They were structured, aligned, repeating. In short, they looked engineered. Some of the anomalies resembled corridors, others looked like chamber outlines. And one formation, nearly 200 meters away from the main site, formed a near-perfect arc. These weren't shaped by erosion or shifting soil. They had symmetry, proportion, intent. And that's the terrifying part. This AI-driven discovery suggests that Stonehenge isn't just a monument. It could be part of a much larger complex buried beneath the earth. A complex with a blueprint, not random scatter. According to Dr. Henry Chapman, a landscape archaeologist at the University of Birmingham, the idea that we've been walking over a complex like this without seeing it is extraordinary. For years, archaeologists believed they had mapped the landscape, but the AI revealed precise angles, repeating geometric placements, and spatial arrangements no one had ever documented. It showed that below the surface, patterns existed that align with nothing in known Neolithic archaeology. These aren't just pits, they're evidence of design. And that means the people who built Stonehenge might have had skills we haven't credited them with. Not just in stacking stones, but in planning, measuring, and shaping the land itself on a massive scale. These aren't just anomalies, they're a kind of buried architecture, said one of the lead AI researchers. Whatever Stonehenge was, this discovery changes its story, from a solitary circle of stones to possibly the entrance of something much larger and still unexplored. But how exactly did this buried architecture go unnoticed for centuries? And how did AI succeed where traditional archaeology failed? That answer lies in the tech itself, behind the monument, the science of scanning. To see beneath the surface of Stonehenge, archaeologists turned to tools far more advanced than a shovel. Using magnetometry, ground-penetrating radar, GPR, and electrical resistance surveys, researchers created an incredibly detailed digital map of what lies underground. But even then, the data was too complex. There were terabytes of readings, too much for humans to interpret manually. That's where AI came in. Machine learning models were trained to look for patterns in the chaos. Where humans saw static, AI saw symmetry. It flagged anomalies that had been ignored for years. In one section previously dismissed as background noise, AI uncovered interconnected cavities and angular pathways, suggesting deliberate construction. The real breakthrough came when the system started identifying not just single anomalies, but recurring formations, similar in shape, size, and layout. This level of regularity doesn't occur naturally. It was like finding blueprints buried in soil. What's critical here is that none of these methods were new. The scanning tools had been used before, but without AI, they couldn't detect the hidden logic in the data. We were looking at the puzzle pieces for years. We just didn't know how they fit, said Dr. Philippa Smith, a geophysics lead on the project. Now with AI, the picture has started to emerge, and it's not what anyone expected. And when the full picture began to form, what AI uncovered next wasn't just impressive, it was unsettling, because it pointed to structures far more complex than any known prehistoric site. the astonishing structures hidden beneath. What the AI uncovered next could change everything we thought we knew about Neolithic Britain. Beneath and around the main stone circle, the AI outlined a network of hidden structures, symmetrical, aligned, and mathematically precise. These weren't extensions of Stonehenge. They were something entirely different. Repeating grid patterns emerged across the scan, each node and corner placed with alarming accuracy. One segment revealed a linear trench-like structure, exactly 30 meters long, running parallel to the stones but buried 2 meters deeper. Another flag formation looked like a buried chamber or shaft, rectangular in layout with near-perfect corners. It didn't stop there. AI analysis revealed angle repetition and distance regularity, a form of spatial rhythm consistent with architectural planning. These patterns weren't geological. They had purpose. They matched nothing in known prehistoric Britain. According to independent analyst Mark Collings, who reviewed the scan data, there is an unnatural regularity to these features. They're engineered. That's the only word for it. If true, this means Stonehenge may be sitting on top of, or inside of, a larger engineered installation, one built with intent and precision that predated metal tools. And yet, despite all this, no written record, no tools, and no cultural reference explains how such structures could have been built. But that wasn't all. The scans revealed giant features, some already documented, but now reinterpreted through the AI's lens, that challenged the very purpose of the site. Previously unknown massive features. Long before AI, archaeologists had found enormous pits and shafts surrounding Stonehenge, some over 5 meters deep. These were thought to be natural or ceremonial, but the AI's reanalysis painted a very different picture. It found connections between them, not physical tunnels, but perfect spatial alignments and distribution patterns that didn't match chance. These pits were placed along geometric arcs and radial lines from the monument's center, like coordinates in a much larger system. In one case, 5 massive depressions, thought to be isolated, were found to form a precise semicircle centered on Stonehenge itself. Their spacing, exactly 39.3 meters apart. "We're seeing something like a map," said Dr. Elaine Morris, a prehistoric systems analyst. "These aren't scattered features. They're positioned, and that suggests planning." The size of these formations is also shocking. Some span the length of a football field, and a few align with astronomical points. It raises a haunting question. Were these ritual spaces, survey markers, or something more functional, like vaults or underground storage? These discoveries make one thing clear. The landscape around Stonehenge was engineered. It wasn't just shaped by ritual, it was shaped with intention, which leads us to the most unsettling conclusion yet. All this system, the scale, the design, the buried systems, points to a master plan no one saw coming. The terrifying implication. This was a master plan. All signs now point to a startling possibility. Stonehenge was not built as an isolated monument. It was a central node in a much larger, deliberate design, a master-planned complex hidden beneath soil for thousands of years. The AI's analysis showed geometric relationships between surface and buried features that are too specific to be accidental. Distances matched, angles aligned. Even the locations of now missing stones correlated with subsurface features revealed by the AI. This suggests not just symbolic intention, but surveying skill, landscape planning, and possibly mathematical knowledge. These aren't things we've typically attributed to Neolithic builders. This changes how we see the people of that era, from ritualistic to possibly scientific, said Professor Julian Rollins from the British Museum. If this was a master plan, then who executed it? How did they measure, cut, and align on such a scale with no metal tools, no wheels, no known measurement systems? The implication is unsettling. It means we've been underestimating the builders of Stonehenge for centuries. These weren't primitive tribes. They may have been highly organized engineers working with principles we've only just started to understand. And perhaps the most chilling part? We still don't know why. But if this level of planning really existed, why didn't archaeologists see it before? Why were the signs buried, not just in soil, but in overlooked data? That's what we'll explore next. Why previous research missed it. For decades, archaeologists have studied Stonehenge using traditional methods, limited excavations, surface mapping, and straightforward geophysical scans. These methods worked, to a point. They helped uncover the obvious. But they also missed the buried complexity. That's because many of the structures now revealed by AI were previously categorized as noise, minor signal disruptions, or natural soil shifts. Without the ability to analyze massive, multi-layered data sets, early researchers couldn't see the patterns. And without pattern, there was no reason to suspect a deeper design. Traditional magnetometry and radar scans created raw data, but interpreting that data required human pattern recognition, which breaks down at scale. Terabytes of underground readings simply couldn't be processed meaningfully by hand. Oh, I changed that. The machine learning models compared thousands of anomalies across space and time, detecting repetition, symmetry, and alignment in ways that no human eye could manage. We weren't blind, we just didn't have the lens, said Dr. Paul Garwood, a senior field archaeologist at the University of Birmingham. Now, that lens has shown that many insignificant blips were part of larger underground geometries, some connecting back to features excavated decades ago, but never understood in context. The reality is this: the information was there, we just couldn't see it. But now that we do see it, the question becomes even more mysterious. What exactly lies beneath? And is it just rock and soil, or something else entirely? The architecture of the invisible monument. The A. I didn't just identify features, it suggested form. Beneath the surface, it outlined possible pathways, chambers, and even what looks like a subterranean corridor system. These aren't visible on the surface, but they show up in radar as elongated voids, sharp corners, and consistent depths, signs of structural intent. In one sector, a formation appears to curve around the monument like a buried ring, composed of interconnected segments that could be interpreted as walls or ditches. Another shows a long linear feature stretching over 60 meters, buried deep but precisely level, far too even to be a natural trench. Some theories now suggest the area might contain ritual tunnels, aligned markers, or even underground chambers, possibly used for acoustic or ceremonial purposes. Others speculate that these structures might serve functional roles like water management or navigation. It's not just buried architecture, it's architecture with purpose, said Dr. Joanna Lee, a specialist in ancient landscape systems. If any of this proves true, then we are dealing with a multi-level monument, not just a stone circle, a layered structure of meaning and function with our surface and subterranean components, planned and built by a civilization far more advanced than previously believed. But could such planning have come from Neolithic people alone? Or does the scale suggest something else? Something beyond what we've assumed about their capabilities? Human or something else? The organizational puzzle. The patterns beneath Stonehenge don't just hint at architecture, they imply organization. To lay out structures across hundreds of meters with precise spacing and alignment requires measurement, coordination, and some kind of surveying system. Mainstream archaeology has long assumed that Neolithic societies were simple, capable of building with effort, yes, but lacking advanced planning tools. The buried evidence now challenges that completely. AI revealed that many subsurface formations are laid out according to consistent ratios and distances, almost like someone was following blueprints. And these measurements remain accurate across large distances, even with elevation changes and natural obstructions. To do this without a centralized plan seems impossible, said Dr. Martin Cleo, who has excavated the Stonehenge landscape for over 20 years. If humans did this, they were using tools or systems we haven't discovered, or they had knowledge of geometry, astronomy, and land engineering far beyond what's been assumed. Of course, this gap in understanding is where alternative theories emerge, including suggestions that outside influence or lost knowledge might explain the scale and planning, While there's no direct evidence of non-human intervention, the lack of known tools and unmatched precision raise legitimate questions. At the very least, the builders of Stonehenge were not just spiritual, they were scientific, and their methods remain largely a mystery. And with that, we face a turning point. Because if the builders were this advanced, what else about Stonehenge have we misunderstood? How this changes everything we thought about Stonehenge. For centuries, Stonehenge has been viewed through a narrow lens, a place of ritual, burial, and ancient wonder. But the AI's findings now suggest it was more than symbolic. It may have been a functioning system, possibly for tracking, gathering, or aligning with something far bigger. These underground formations don't just challenge our understanding of what Stonehenge was, they challenge how we define civilization itself. Religious site? Possibly. But what if it was also a data hub, a calendar, or even a control center of a larger Neolithic landscape? The surrounding structures, newly detected, imply region-wide coordination, and that means community, central authority, and long-term planning. It's no longer just a monument, it's infrastructure, said landscape historian Dr. Miles Russell. Theories about Stonehenge's use, from solar alignment to burial ground, now have to be re-examined through the lens of these buried structures. Their shape, scale, and spacing suggest a level of complexity we haven't seen in other Neolithic sites. And critically, I made this visible. Without it, we'd still be staring at the stones, unaware of the engineered world beneath our feet. But if this is true, then what comes next? What are we standing on? And what might we risk losing if we ignore what's been found? The horror and the promise. What's next? If the AI analysis is correct, then Stonehenge sits atop one of the most advanced prehistoric complexes ever discovered, a design hidden for millennia. But now that it's been exposed, the stakes are higher than ever. There's promise in this discovery, the chance to rewrite human history, to understand our ancestors not as primitive, but as planners, builders, and scientists, the chance to recover lost knowledge embedded in earth and stone. But there's danger too. Modern development near Stonehenge, including road tunnels and infrastructure projects, could destroy parts of this newly uncovered system before it's even studied. Buried corridors, structural outlines, chambers, all at risk. If we don't act now, we could lose the most important discovery in British prehistory, warned Dr. Heather Sabir of English Heritage. The next steps must be careful. Excavations guided by our AI, protection zones expanded. And above all, a shift in how we view ancient sites, not as isolated relics, but as parts of a bigger, hidden architecture of humanity. This is no longer about stones in a circle. It's about what lies beneath, in the civilization we never knew was there. What lies beneath Stonehenge has shattered our assumptions about the past. AI has exposed not just buried stones, but a buried intelligence, one that planned, measured, and constructed on a scale we never thought possible for ancient humans. These underground structures challenge everything. Our understanding of Neolithic technology, organization, even purpose. And yet, much of it still remains unexcavated, untouched, and unknown. If we ignore these findings, we risk losing an entire chapter of human history, a chapter written in stone, then buried for thousands of years. But if we explore it, carefully and with the right tools, we might finally uncover the true purpose of Stonehenge, not just as a spiritual site, but as a gateway into an ancient world we've never truly understood. I opened the ground. Now it's up to us to face what's really down there. And it's nothing like we expected.